Hey everybody, Miss Cromer here. I wanted to pop in and just say that I am going to transition into a clip that I recorded last semester. Everything, all the important information is the same, but I do mention some dates in there, and the fact that I'll be out of office for spring break and things like that are not applicable. It's going to be a little bit choppy because I tried to delete all the little sections that were not applicable to you. So you might be like, what? Did she just say twice in a row? I did. But all of the important stuff is still there. I'm going to be walking you through a high level overview of the Unit 6 research portfolio because that's coming up quicker than we think, and I'm hopeful that we're already preparing to get started on that. So that's what we're doing here. And if it's choppy, I'm sorry about that. And at the very end, I talk about some dates at the beginning of, I guess it was April. Obviously, the dates are not relevant to you, but you can learn your planner and see when it is that you're actually submitting this assignment. So, good luck, and let me know if you have any questions. Here we go. This is, we're looking at our message board. Hopefully this looks very familiar to you. This 10B supplemental materials page is going to have everything you need for your research unit. Also, though, if you go up to this one, the Unit 6 research project portfolio, again, has everything you need. So this is actually probably where I tell you to go because it's just laid out in the order that you'll need it. So step-by-step instructions are linked right here where it says linked here. I'm going to open that up and just show you what that looks like. So you've got your options for your topic. Essentially, you can either run with the assigned topic with your own flair or choose your own topic entirely. But either way, you are going to need 3 credible sources, and we'll talk more about this in our next live lesson, which will be on, let's see, not the 3rd, will be on the 10th. Okay. So we'll talk a lot about this on the 10th. We'll dive deeper into credible sources, what's credible, what's not. But there are resources in here. If you're at the point in the stage and phase of looking for sources, there is some high level information here on what is credible, how to know. And then somewhere in here, right here, there's another resource that if you want to not wait until the 10th when we have live lesson and you want to figure out for yourself if your sources are credible or not, you can run through some of these questions, and it just gives you an overview of if it's a .com or a .edu or a .gov, then you're good to go. But just all that good stuff. So currency, relevance, authority, we're going to talk about all that on the 10th. If you're ahead of the game, that resource is there for you to utilize though. So going back up to the first page, linked on this first page is your research text planner. This is also found in your lessons, but if you want to get a jump on it before it's even linked in your lessons, you can go ahead and download it from this guideline document that I've given you. You are going to be required to turn this in. So I think it's Unit 6, Lesson 5 that you're turning this in, and it's a portfolio grade. So just keeping up with this as you go will be worth a huge chunk of your final grade. So definitely invest some time and effort into this. Not only is it going to be a good chunk of your final grade and it's an easy A, but it's also going to make your life so much easier when you get to the point of writing your paper. So think through your research questions, which are going to basically be your roadmap for your paper. If we're aiming for a 3-page paper, which we are, we're going to have probably 5 body paragraphs. So we need to think through 5 research questions that are going to drive our research. How can we break down our topic into 5, organize it into 5 sections? Does that make sense? So Those are your research questions, your sections, essentially. Once you answer the research questions using your research, those questions will turn into your topic sentences. Listing out your sources, and here I would even encourage you to list the source, or if you're doing this on your computer, which again I would suggest, you could just link it. You could, write the name and link the actual URL. Will make your life easier. You could and should keep like running tab of I'm using this source for body paragraph number 1, or I'm using this source to answer this question, or this source answers questions 1, 2, and 3. So I'll be using it, recycling that information in those 3 paragraphs. Then once you get to the point of writing out your thesis statement, you'll put that there, and then you will. All right, I lost my train of thought. You're writing out your thesis statement, you're writing bullet points of things you want to cover in your introduction. Remember, introduction is where you give background information, anything your reader needs to know to go into the rest of your paper with that basic understanding. And then your thesis statement will belong in that introduction as well. And then for this section on your body, you'll just write out essentially the answered research questions. So you kind of get to recycle that information as well. And then your high level overview. So your key points that you are going to restate because they are the have to know things. So you'll keep up with this, and if there's anything that needs to be defined for your readers, you'll put that here, and you'll make sure that you do that in your introduction. And that's it. So this is a portfolio grade. You'll turn it in a few lessons into Unit 6. So keeping up with this from the beginning will be really helpful for you. Again, easy A, and it will help make your life easier later. Then we also have the research project rubric linked. So this is how you'll be graded. And we're putting an emphasis on MLA format, in-text citations, and a formal tone. So those are the key things that we want to focus on and put a lot of time and effort into. And we will go through this again in a lot more detail on the 10th, but it's here for you if you want to take a peek. A quick note, you'll see the word presentation a lot in this unit, and you can disregard. We are not doing a presentation. We are doing just the paper part. So instead of writing a research paper and doing a research presentation, we are just focusing on the research paper. So this whole section here is essentially irrelevant. And over in the teacher comments, it says MLA format. So those 5 points that would have been allotted to the presentation are going to be allotted to MLA format. So it's in a 22-point total. 5 points is a lot. So definitely want to pay attention in live lesson on the 10th when we dive deep into MLA format. Okay, so you've got your guidelines, you're writing a 3-page paper using 3 credible sources. You can either choose an aspect of how human activity affects the environment, or you can go rogue and write on whatever you want to write about. You just need to keep in mind that we are writing this in an informative and argumentative tone. So your research paper's goal is to inform and essentially to get your reader to side with you. And so we've been talking a lot about all of this. Really, we've been talking a lot about discussion and debate. We've been talking about persuasive techniques and argumentative techniques, and identifying that in others' writing, as well as how to utilize it in our own. So we're just kind of continuing on that train. If you're choosing your own topic, I would strongly recommend that you shoot me a webmail and you say, hey, this is what I'm thinking, yes or no. And then that way I can say, ooh, we really need to narrow this down, or this is too narrow. No way you're going to be able to write 3 whole pages on this topic. Let's take let's zoom out a step. Okay. So that is all on the very first page of this research guideline document. Then it gets into the nitty gritty. So if you are ready to rock and roll, it breaks down every single step. So step 1, start researching before you even confirm your topic. So you can shoot me a webmail for me to give you a thumbs up or some guidance. But even before that, you should be researching that potential topic so that you can make sure, because there's been many times when I've been doing a research assignment and I've thought I nailed down my topic, and then I started doing the research and I'm like, there are no credible sources on this topic, or there is only one credible source on this topic. And that will put a stop to things real fast. And then you'll realize, okay, well, where are the resources in this, in this general field? And then you'll be able to kind of tweak your topic to make sure there are credible resources to support you. So that's the first step. Then we get into choosing your topic and solidifying it. So that's the point where you're web mailing me, I'm thinking this and this. Maybe giving two options would be better. You could have a slightly broad topic and then a slightly narrow topic. And then I could just tell you like, yes, either one of those works, or let's go with the first one, or let's go with the second one. And that would probably be really helpful for you and for me. So let's try to aim for that. So that's the second part of this step. And then you're going to dive deeper into your sources. So this is the part where you get out your highlighters and your note cards and you start, for me, I preferred color coding everything. So if I was doing the note card method, I was reading my sources with a stack of multiple color note cards, and anything pink was going in my first body paragraph and anything blue was going in my second body paragraph. So if I'm reading the sources, I'm like, ooh, this belongs to my first paragraph. I pick up that pink card, I write down the direct quote and the name of the source and stick it in my research paper stack. And that was my favorite way to write research papers. I'm super nerdy. This is like my bread and butter. Like, I love writing research papers. It's really fun because you don't have to have any original thoughts, because none of the thoughts should come from your own head. So you get to just borrow from this smart person and borrow from this smart person and tweak what this smart person said, and then just make it all sound good. So I love research. But anyways, that's just one method for note taking. You can also just keep a running list. If you're working from the computer, don't have note cards, don't want to deal with that. I don't blame you. It's honestly an extra step. I like it because that's how I like my brain works. That's that organizational method. But you can also just copy and paste quotes into a Word document and color code them with, highlighting in different colors or doing different color fonts or whatever. But make sure as you collect quotes from your sources that you are noting which source it came from. So don't get lost in, you have a great list of quotes that supports everything you want to say, but you don't remember which came from which source, because that is going to be a nightmare when you go to write your paper. Because again, a huge chunk of your grade will come from in-text citations, which means anytime you borrow information, whether you're direct quoting, paraphrasing, or summarizing. So if it's in your own words or not, you have to identify where that information came from. And that is pretty unique to research assignments. But it is super important. So anytime you take note of a quote that you want to put into your paper, either in a direct quote or you want to change it into your own words, which will be your whole paper will either be direct quotes or summaries or paraphrases. Like that's what your final paper, if a research paper, is comprised of. So you'll want to make sure you're keeping track of which information comes from which source. Okay, so, and then we get into the revision and the editing, and all of that will come much later. So you won't need to know that for the first week. So this is all linked in this one this one spot right here where it says step-by-step instructions linked here. Okay, so that is your starting point. We talked about your topic options. We talked about the fact that this planning organizer, which is linked in that first document, is also linked by itself here. And it's also linked in your lessons. We talked about that being a portfolio grade. And then if you want an example of what a final paper should look like, I have one here for you. So this is an MLA formatted 3-page research paper with a works cited page. So this will be exactly what is expected of you. So that will kind of be helpful to look at and just to note before going into getting started on your own. Once we start talking about MLA formatting, there's a ton of helpful information linked here. Again, that's coming much later. And then, oh, we don't need this one anymore because we're not doing the PowerPoint. Boop. Okay. And then the rubric is linked again, and the step-by-step instructions is linked again. So clearly very important item. All right, that's it. That's all I have for you. So hopefully you have a much better idea of what is expected of you, because the lessons might be a little confusing. They talk about that presentation. They talk about 5 pages. They talk about a very specific topic that you have to have. So I just wanted to get in front of you guys, since I'll be out hopefully when you start on 4th or 5th, the 4th, I mean the 3rd or 4th. And that way you're not confused, or you're not working towards something that's a lot bigger and less manageable than what you actually have to do.